What if the greatest empires don't collapse because they are defeated because they refuse to admit they're rechanging? What if every warning sign has already appeared, but power makes leaders blind to patterns? What if America isn't headed toward collapse but toward irreversible decline, just like Britain? Have you ever wondered how an empire that controls a quarter of the globe just fades away? Let's talk about the British Empire. At its peak, its navy ruled the waves, its money ran the world, and its influence was everywhere. British leaders were convinced they had found the secret to permanent power. Their dominance wasn't just military, it was a state of mind. They didn't just rule land, they ruled the belief that they would rule forever. And that belief was their downfall. The British elite thought their institutions were too old, too sophisticated, and too mighty to ever crumble. They had survived wars, rebellions, and economic crashes. Every victory only strengthened the idea that collapse was for other, weaker nations. Does that sound familiar at all? Today, the United States occupies a similar headspace. The dollar is the world's go-to currency. The military budget dwarfs the next several countries combined. And American tech companies define how we live, talk, and trade. All of this creates an illusion, not of strength, but of permanence. History, however, has a brutal way of dealing with that illusion. The British Empire didn't fall because it was weak. It fell because it believed its strength alone was enough to guarantee its future. Power made reform seem unnecessary. Confidence made them postpone critical changes. Leaders mistook momentum for actual stability. America is showing the exact same symptoms. Warnings about massive debt, social division, and declining trust in our institutions are often brushed aside as just being negative or unpatriotic. It's the same way British officials dismiss the early signs of their own decline. Empires don't fall because they run out of power. They fall because they lose touch with reality while they're still at the top. Britain assumed time was on its side. It wasn't. The most dangerous belief any great power can hold isn't just arrogance. It's the absolute certainty that tomorrow will be exactly like yesterday. What do you think? Are we seeing history repeat itself? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. The British Empire didn't crumble due to poverty. In fact, it collapsed while still appearing wealthy. The real problem was economic overreach, and empire spending more to maintain dominance than its economy could sustainably support. 2 world wars accelerated this problem, but the disease existed long before them. Britain borrowed heavily to fund its military, protect trade routes, and maintain far-flung colonies. The empire became addicted to the idea that future growth would always cover present excess. By the end of World War II, Britain wasn't defeated, it was financially exhausted. It had won wars, but lost flexibility. Its economy was so burdened by debt that maintaining empire became optional rather than inevitable. America today faces a strikingly similar reality. Trillions in national debt, massive defense spending, global military commitment spanning dozens of countries, an economic system dependent on continuous growth to prevent instability. Like Britain, the US hasn't collapsed under debt, has normalized it. Debt, however, is deceptive. It doesn't destroy power instantly. It quietly removes choice. Britain learned that debt turns strategy into reaction. Instead of asking, what should we do? Leaders ask, what can we still afford? When that shift happens, empires no longer shape history, they respond to it. America's debt isn't just a financial number, it's a structural vulnerability. As interest costs rise and global confidence slowly diversifies away from US financial dominance, the margin for error shrinks. Britain didn't lose its empire in a dramatic collapse. It sold it, surrendered it, and negotiated it away because it no longer had the economic freedom to say no. Debt didn't kill the British Empire. It ended its ability to decide its own future. And history rarely offers second warnings. One of the most misunderstood aspects of imperial decline is the belief that empires fall due to foreign enemies. In reality, most empires fracture internally long before they lose control externally. Britain's decline accelerated when internal cohesion began to erode. Class divisions widened, labor unrest increased, trust in political leadership weakened. The public no longer felt the empire served their interests, it served elites. As internal confidence collapsed, maintaining external control became morally and politically expensive. America today shows a disturbingly similar pattern. Political polarization has reached levels unseen in modern history. Trust in institutions, government, media, education, even science has eroded. Citizens increasingly see each other not as rivals, but as threats. This is not merely cultural tension, it's strategic vulnerability. When an empire becomes divided, it loses its ability to act collectively. Every decision becomes contested. Every reform becomes delayed. Every crisis becomes an opportunity for internal sabotage rather than unity. Britain faced this in its final decades. Leaders were consumed by domestic debates, while colonies quietly prepared independence movements. The empire didn't lose territory through invasion, it lost legitimacy through neglect. Empires require shared belief to survive, not agreement, but commitment to the system itself. Once citizens stop believing the system works for them, defending it becomes optional. America is now approaching that threshold. Internal conflict drains attention, resources, and trust. It transforms strength into friction, and history is clear. No empire survives prolonged internal fragmentation. Britain didn't fall because others were stronger. It fell because it could no longer stand together. How do empires really fall? It's not just about military might or economic decline. It's about the story they tell. Think about the British Empire. They didn't just rule with guns. They ruled with a narrative. They claimed they were bringing civilization, order, and a sense of moral duty to the world. And for a long time, many people, both inside and outside the empire, bought into that story. But then, the story started to fall apart. People in the colonies began to see the reality behind the curtain. Exploitation and hypocrisy, not moral leadership. Once Britain lost its moral credibility, its authority crumbled. Compliance turned into resistance. Now, fast forward to today and look at America. For decades, the U.S. has been the storyteller of freedom, democracy, and human rights. This narrative gave it immense soft power. Other nations followed not just because they had to, but because they believed in the story. But that belief is now being seriously questioned. In our hyper-connected world, every contradiction between words and actions is magnified. Actions that were once hidden are now streamed live for everyone to see. The standards America preached are now being used to challenge its own behavior. When moral authority wears thin, influence doesn't lead anymore. It faces resistance. Britain learned this the hard way. It could still flex its military muscle, but it couldn't command respect. And power without legitimacy is fragile and destined to fade. America is standing at that same crossroads. Influence can't be forced forever. It has to be earned, over and over again. When the story no longer convinces people, the entire structure is at risk. Empires don't truly lose their power when others stop fearing them. They lose it when others stop believing in them. Thanks for watching. If this made you think, consider subscribing for more content like this. Britain once possessed the most powerful navy on Earth. Ships in every ocean. Bases across continents. Yet military dominance failed to save the empire. Why? Because Britain was preparing for the wrong future. Its military strategy was designed to maintain control, not adapt to transformation. While technology, economics, and global politics evolved, Britain focused on preserving old systems. America today risks repeating this mistake. The U.S. military remains unmatched in traditional terms, yet modern conflict has shifted. Cyber warfare, economic coercion, information warfare, and AI now shape global power. Dominance is no longer just about force, it's about adaptability. Britain lost relevance before it lost battles. An overextended military becomes a symbol of past glory rather than future security. Maintaining it consumes resources while offering diminishing returns. America's challenge isn't strength, it's agility. Empires that fail to adapt don't fall suddenly. They fade while insisting nothing has changed. Ever wondered how an empire really ends? It's not with a bang, but with denial. Take the British Empire. As its colonies gained independence one by one, British leaders didn't announce a collapse. Instead, they insisted the empire was strong and stable. Confidence became a performance, a talking point to mask the reality of decline. Now, look at America today. Do you see a pattern? Economic stress is just a temporary slump. Deep social divides are simply normalized. Major global challenges, they're often minimized or ignored. Anyone who raises a warning is dismissed as an alarmist. But history teaches us that this isn't just ignorance. It's a powerful resistance to the inevitable. By the time Britain finally admitted its empire was shrinking, the change was irreversible. Empires don't fall when people see the cracks. They fall when their leaders refuse to prepare for what's next. The question isn't whether America will change. The question is whether it can recognize the historical pattern before it's too late. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.